"You'll thank me someday," my mother said, just before she hurled a brick through the window. That sound, the glass shattering, the brick hitting the floor, the startled cry from my wife, still rings in my ears like an echo that won't fade. The crazy part, that wasn't even the worst thing she did that day. But it was the moment I realized I couldn't pretend anymore. She wasn't just difficult. She wasn't just overprotective. My mother had crossed the line from controlling to dangerous. And the scariest part? I'd seen it coming for years. That I'm Simon. I'm 32. And for most of my life, my mother, Diane, believed she knew what was best for everyone, especially me. She used to say things like, "You wouldn't even be alive if I hadn't fought for you." It always made me feel like I owed her something I could never repay. Why Dad? Mark left when I was 10. He said he couldn't breathe anymore. I didn't understand what he meant until much later. After that, it was just the two of us, my mom and me, against the world. Or at least, that's how she made it seem. Every decision she made was for my own good, that I wasn't allowed to go to sleepovers because, as she said, parents can't be trusted. Summer camps were out of the question too. Those places have weird counselors. And when I got my first girlfriend at 16, she told me, "She's just using you to get back at her dad." At the time, I thought she was just being protective. Isn't that what moms are supposed to do? But it didn't stop when I became an adult. If anything, it got worse. When I moved out at 24, she called me every morning. Not to say good morning, but to interrogate me. "Did you eat breakfast? Who were you with last night? Why didn't you answer my text at 10:47? If I didn't respond fast enough, she'd threaten to drive over just to make sure I wasn't dead. Once, when I didn't pick up for a few hours because I was at work, she called my boss pretending to be a worried relative. I got written up for it. Still, I told myself she just cared too much. That's what we do when we don't want to face the truth. We rename our pain to make it sound noble. Then I met Emily. She was the first person who really saw what was happening. Calm, grounded, patient, the exact opposite of my mother. We met at a friend's barbecue and clicked right away. She told me later she noticed how I flinched every time my phone buzzed. "You look like a soldier waiting for orders," she said with a soft smile that made me want to laugh and cry at the same time. For a while, I kept my world separate. I didn't introduce Emily to my mom until we'd been dating 8 months. I wanted to be sure it was serious first, partly because I knew that once my mom met her, there'd be no going back. That I remember that first meeting vividly. Sunday afternoon. My mom insisted on cooking because she didn't trust restaurant food. I told her Emily was vegetarian. She said, "That's fine. I'll make her chicken soup." I thought she was joking. She wasn't. Dinner was painfully awkward. My mom asked Emily a dozen invasive questions. "Where do your parents work? How much is your rent? Do you want kids? When?" And every time Emily tried to change the topic, my mom just talked louder. At one point, she looked at me and said, "I don't think she's the one, Simon. She doesn't look like the type who can handle real problems." I wanted to disappear, but Emily just smiled and said, "Don't worry, Diane. I've dealt with real problems before, just not this kind." That was the first time I saw my mother lose her composure. Her face went blank, her eyes went cold. After that day, she decided Emily was turning me against her. What followed was months of manipulation. My mom would show up unannounced. She forgot her keys and let herself in with a spare I hadn't realized she'd copied. She'd rearrange things, throw out Emily's herbal teas, and replace them with real coffee. Even swap out our framed photos for ones of just me. When I told her to stop, she'd tear up and say, "I'm just trying to help you make better choices." Then came the guilt trips. "You never visit anymore. You don't call unless I do. You've changed, Simon. She's changed you." It all came to a head when Emily and I got engaged. My mom didn't even pretend to be happy. When I told her, she froze, then said, "So that's it. You're replacing me." It took me a full minute to respond. "Mom, no one's replacing anyone. You're my mother. Emily's going to be my wife." But she just shook her head. "Wives leave, Simon. Mothers don't." I should have realized then that something had snapped. She boycotted the engagement party. Told relatives I was being manipulated by a gold digger. Even called Emily's parents to warn them she was marrying into dysfunction. The final straw before the brick incident was the house. Emily and I bought a small place about 30 minutes from my mom, a fixer-upper with creaky floors, peeling paint, and a tiny backyard. But it was ours. I told my mom I'd give her the address once we'd settled in. I just want a few weeks of peace first. But she found out anyway. I still don't know how. The first sign was the flowers. Every few days, a new bouquet showed up on our porch. No note, but I knew her handwriting on the delivery slips. Then came the coincidences. She'd appear when we were grocery shopping. When I asked how she knew we were there, she'd smile and say, "Oh, I was just in the neighborhood." Then one morning, Emily found her car scratched, a deep, deliberate line down the driver's side. At first, we thought it was random vandalism. But later that week, when I visited my mom, she said, "I bet she's blaming me for that car thing, isn't she?" Before I'd even mentioned it, that's when I started sleeping with my phone on silent. Everything built up quietly, like pressure under a lid, until that night, it was around 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. Emily and I were arguing, not even about my mom, just something small. Dishes, I think. Then there was a crash. The sound of shattering glass filled the room, and Emily screamed. A brick landed just a few feet from her. Attached to it was a note. "You've changed him. He needs to wake up." I ran outside. And there she was, my mother, standing in the yard, clutching her purse like she was waiting for applause. "What is wrong with you?" I shouted. She didn't even flinch. "You never talk to me anymore, Simon. Maybe now you'll finally listen." "Listen? You almost hit Emily." "Oh, please. It was just a window. You're being dramatic." That was it. Something inside me broke. All the excuses, all the years of defending her, snapped. I told her to leave and never come back. And when she refused, I said the one thing I never thought I'd say. "You're sick, Mom. You need help." Her face twisted. "You'll thank me one day," she said quietly. "You'll see I was right." Then she turned and walked away like she'd just dropped off a package. That night, I packed a bag. I didn't even know where I was going, just that I couldn't stay there. Emily begged me not to go alone, but I needed air. I needed distance. I thought leaving would be the end of it. That maybe she'd finally realize she'd gone too far. But what she did next, I couldn't have imagined in 1,000 years. I drove aimlessly for hours, headlights blurring into white streaks on the highway. I hadn't even grabbed a toothbrush, just my phone, wallet, and a half-charged sense of disbelief. I ended up at a rundown motel off Route 11. One of those places with buzzing neon vacancy signs that never turn off, even when no one should want to stay there. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the cracked wallpaper, trying to understand how the woman who once tucked me in at night had become someone capable of throwing a brick through my window. Emily called around midnight. Her voice was steady but tired. "The police came," she said. "They filed a report, but since she's family and didn't technically hurt anyone, there's not much they can do. Simon, we need to get a restraining order." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "Yeah, tomorrow." But tomorrow didn't come peacefully. When I got home the next morning, Emily handed me her phone with this look that said, "You're not going to like this." It was a text from my mother. No greeting, no apology, just, "You're making a mistake. She's not the one. I can fix this if you just let me." Then she sent a photo. It was of our wedding invitation mock-up, the one Emily had designed herself. Only this version had red pen scribbles all over it. "Cancel this. Wrong woman. Not approved." I didn't even know how she'd gotten access to that. Emily's face was calm, but her voice trembled slightly. "She must have gone through your email," she said quietly. "Simon, how long has this been going on?" The truth was I didn't know. I'd become so used to her crossing lines that I'd stopped noticing where the boundaries were. But Emily was right. This wasn't protectiveness anymore. It was obsession. That day, we changed our passwords. New locks, too. We even installed a doorbell camera. For a few days, everything went quiet. Too quiet. I started to believe maybe she'd finally realized how serious this was. Then came the church incident. It was Sunday morning, and Emily and I decided to attend a small local service near our house. Halfway through a prayer, I heard the doors creak open. I didn't even need to look. I felt her presence. Sure enough, there she was, walking down the aisle like she owned the place, holding a casserole dish. The pastor stopped mid-sentence, confused, as my mother smiled and said loudly, "Sorry to interrupt, but my son hasn't returned my calls in a week. I just wanted to make sure he's still alive. I wanted the ground to swallow me whole." People turned to stare. Emily's face went pale. I walked up to her and whispered through clenched teeth, "You need to leave. Now." She frowned. "Don't talk to me like that, Simon. I'm your mother." That line, the one she always used to excuse everything. "I'm your mother." As if those words erased accountability, that I practically dragged her outside. She stayed calm, smiling like she hadn't just humiliated me in front of 50 people. "I don't see what the big deal is," she said. "I was just worried. Everyone loves a good family reunion." When I refused to take her home, she stood beside her car and said, "You'll regret this when she leaves you. They always leave." I didn't respond. I couldn't. Over the next few weeks, she started a quiet, calculated campaign. It began with phone calls to relatives. My Aunt Marie called one night. "Honey, your mom's worried sick," she said. "She told me Emily's isolating you." I laughed bitterly. "Isolating me? She's the one who threw a brick through my window." Marie hesitated. "Well, your mom said it was an accident, that you exaggerated it." That's when I realized she was rewriting the story, turning herself into the victim. And it worked. Family started taking her side. My cousin texted me, "You should really apologize to your mom. She's heartbroken. Apologize to her." That's what my cousin texted after my mom spun her side of the story. Emily tried to keep me grounded. She'd make tea, sit beside me, and remind me, "You can't reason with someone who doesn't play by the same rules." But I could tell she was hurting too. She flinched every time her phone buzzed. Then one evening, I checked my voicemail. 7 new messages, all from my mom, each more unhinged than the last. "Simon, I need to talk to you. Why are you ignoring me? She's poisoning your mind. You'll see what happens when you turn your back on your own blood." I deleted them, but her words stuck. The next day, she showed up again, this time with my cousin Leo, her little messenger. He stood on the porch holding old photo albums. "Your mom wanted you to have these," he said. Inside, half the faces were cut out. Emily's, my dad's, just blank spaces where people used to be. That night, Emily broke down. "I can't live like this anymore, Simon. She's not just controlling you. She's trying to erase me." The next day, I told my mom we were cutting contact for good. She didn't yell or cry, just said, "If that's what you want, I understand. Sometimes people have to lose everything before they come home." Then she hung up. For a few weeks, things were calm. We started planning the wedding again, even found a small vineyard as our venue. Then the letters began. No return address, just her handwriting. Pages of rambling half-apologies. "I forgive you for turning your back on me." Another said, "I just hope she doesn't hurt you like your father hurt me." Ignoring her didn't help. She escalated. One night, Emily's mom called in a panic. My mother had shown up at their house with cookies, calling herself the only sane one in Simon's life, telling them I had breakdowns. After that, Emily's parents insisted we move the wedding out of state. We agreed. But that night, I got a text from an unknown number. "You can change your locks, your number, even your city, but you can't change who you are. You're still mine." I froze. Emily saw my face and asked, "What is it?" I showed her the message. Her hand shook. "Simon, this isn't normal anymore. We need to involve someone." I nodded, but I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I saw a movement outside, a faint light like someone holding up a phone. When I stepped closer, it vanished. I told myself it was nothing, but deep down I knew she was out there. A week later, her number somehow got through my block. "Simon," she whispered, "I need you to come home. It's an emergency." My heart. I think I'm having a heart attack. Every instinct said don't go, but she was still my mother. So I went. The lights were on, the door open. She was sitting on the couch, perfectly fine, a glass of wine in hand. "Oh, Simon, thank goodness you came," she said, wiping fake tears. That I stared at her. "You said you were having a heart attack." She smiled. "I just needed to see you. You wouldn't answer my calls." I felt something inside me go numb. "You can't keep doing this," I said. "You can't lie to get attention." She sighed. "You're so dramatic." "I was just worried." I turned to leave. "You'll regret this," she said softly. "They all do." For days after that, silence. No calls, no letters, no shadows. Emily started to laugh again. We thought maybe it was finally over. Then one morning, she walked into the living room, pale as a ghost, holding her laptop. "Simon," Emily said quietly, "you need to see this." It was a Facebook post from my mother, public, long, and tagged with half my family. "I'm not sure how much longer I can stay silent about what my son has done to me."